can say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Welcome to Brainstorm.
We have the explicit tag for a reason.
This is a base level argument to a higher level morality.
I get paid to science?
To science as much as one can science.
What the hell was my point?
Trigger warning. The Brainstorm podcast will criticize your most cherished beliefs. We attack nonsense in all its forms and discuss difficult subjects. If you peddle pseudoscience, supernatural woo, or religious dogma, then this is not your safe place. This is the home of hardcore skepticism.
Hi, and welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast Skeptic Studio, where we do interviews, major topics, and news related to skepticism and atheism. I'm Corey, and my panel tonight are Angela.
Hello.
Leo.
Hey there.
Renee.
Hello.
Lisa.
Hi.
And Destin.
Hey.
With the always amazing Dave doing sound.
I'm going to be amazing tonight.
We're here in Roman Empire Studios in Regina, Saskatchewan, and today is July 21st, 2017. Our guest tonight is Gleb Tsipursky. Did I say that right?
Yes, perfect. The second time around, you got it right.
Good. Founder of the Pro-Truth Movement and president of Intentional Insights, a nonprofit organization geared towards turning research from behavioral science into effective strategies we can use every day. Thanks for joining us, Gleb.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
So I guess a good place to start would be, what is, say, Intentional Insights? What is that?
So it's a nonprofit organization, educational nonprofit organization, a 501c3 based in the United States. A 501c3, for technicality purposes, means that any donations you make to it are tax deductible. We welcome all donations. So it's an organization that's designed to promote research in behavioral science for a broad audience. We work with a number of secular organizations, skeptic organizations, like the Secular Student Alliance, the American Humanist Association, Center for Inquiry, American Atheists, and so on, to promote these ideas. We provide content that they can publish for their audience in their journals, their magazines, their podcasts, and so on. In general, our aspiration is to bring these ideas and behavioral science into the broader community, including the skeptic community, and more broadly as a whole, because really our society makes really bad decisions. Behavioral science can help us make much better decisions. And that's what we want people to do. Help them make better decisions, think more rationally, and avoid the stupidity that is omnipresent in our society.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So how does Intentional Insights try to do that?
The main ways that we try to do that is through publishing articles and going on radio interviews, podcasts, and so on, to get these ideas out there. So I am in the history of behavioral science. We have plenty of other people who are scholars on the team who have the content on behavioral science. And there's a lot of research on how people can make good decisions and avoid stupid decisions, how they can think rationally, what impedes us from thinking rationally, how we can have healthy conversations with others and not just flame wars where we shout at each other. Nothing, not that, any atheists ever did that ever.
Yeah. No, nobody does that.
We just did that at dinner.
Yeah, that's right.
Supper.
There you go.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
There you go. How they actually have conversations where people change their minds as opposed to just, get more backed up into their own positions. And these are a lot of topics that we talk about. So we publish them in skeptic-oriented venues like, let's say, Patheos, let's say The Humanist, and things like Skeptical Inquirer, Free Inquiry, American Atheist Magazine, a lot of podcasts. We bring them out. We publish them on our own website, which is intentionalinsights.org. Again, that's intentionalinsights.org for people who want to check it out. We have videos and audio and so on. And we go to mainstream venues. So we publish in things like Time, Scientific American, Psychology Today, Huffington Post, lots of newspapers like, let's say, New York Daily News and so on. A lot of these venues, and appear on TV and radio shows. So to get these ideas out there. We're a science popularizing organization. So we popularize the science.
That's cool.
That is cool.
So how do you get somebody to change their mind?
I was thinking that too. Like, I think lots of evidence says that arguing and presenting evidence doesn't really work with most people. So how does one change another person's mind?
We need to remember, first of all, that we are atypical. The people who are sitting in that room over there and, I and your listeners tend to be on the range of personality that's really out of the ordinary. We are oriented towards science. We're oriented towards skepticism. We're oriented toward analytical thinking. Most people aren't. And we tend to forget that when we talk to them. So for us, for people like us, arguments work. We are able to change our minds based on evidence. Most people aren't. Arguments don't work. So what you need to do with them is you first go to emotions. They are more emotional thinkers. So what you need to do first is validate their emotions as real, valid, important. Then you need to establish shared goals. Put yourself on their side. Make yourself part of their tribe. Figure out what makes them tick and frame yourself as helping achieve their goals. And then only then should you use reason and logic to go to a shared conclusion. And I can give you an example of doing that. So, for example, I went on a radio show with Scott Sloan. And Scott Sloan is a well-known conservative Christian radio commentator. He debated, for example, Aaron Ra about the Kentucky Ark exhibit. So he's well-known in the secular community for that. Aaron Ra called him, conservative Christian, which he is. And so I went on Scott Sloan's radio show to talk about terrorism and Muslims after a recent terrorist attack at Ohio State University, where I teach. So that's kind of why I went on his show. So as you can imagine, Scott Sloan wasn't too thrilled about Muslims, and that was, not a thing. So I talked to him and I said, hey, Scott, I totally understand, it's very natural to feel fear and anger toward Muslims. Completely natural, totally understandable how you would feel that way. But let's see where it would get you. We have a shared goal of safety and security. He's a conservative, that's his goal, safety and security. I might have more aspirations as someone more liberal of civil rights and equality, but I know he cares about safety and security, so I went there. Shared goals. And I said, well, how can we have safety and security in this context? We know that Muslims, and the attack was in 2016, so we had numbers for 2015. We know that for 2015, Muslims in the United States were implicated in about there were 6 Muslims implicated in terrorist attacks out of about 1.8 million Muslims. So it's a 1 out of 300,000 rate of finding a terrorist if you're a Muslim.
Right.
Not very high. It's like, picking out a terrorist from several football stadiums so not very high rate. That's one. Second, we know the FBI here in the United States really praises Muslims for cooperating with us and finding terrorists. How likely are they going to be to help us if Donald Trump has his way and there's high repression of Muslims and policing of their communities? Not very likely.
Yeah.
Finally, ISIS and other terrorist organizations are already using Donald Trump's rhetoric to recruit Muslims in the United States. There's videotapes of them using that rhetoric. So if we persecute Muslims even more, they'll be even more likely to commit terrorism. So for one, safety and security, Scott, I told him, we really need to be nice and inclusive and respectful toward Muslims, even if we feel fear and anger toward them. And Scott updated. He said, yes, kind of that makes sense. Even though, I have these negative feelings toward them, we should behave in an inclusive way toward them if we value our safety and security.
It's interesting. I wonder, though, is it one thing for a person like that to say in the moment, yes, that makes sense, that's a rational way to look at it, and I agree. But did he, in the future, change his behavior? Did he promote things in a different way after the fact?
Yeah, I remember being on a future interview with him. I remember being on a subsequent interview with him where he specifically brought up the fact that, Muslims are statistically very unlikely to be terrorists. So he retained at least that piece of information, and he brought it up in the future interview with me.
So whether he changed much, he at least retained some of that, eh?
Right. I can't, speak to other things, but that's one specific example I can speak.
I listened to another podcast, and there was a really good back and forth between the two people. But at the end of it, they kind of agreed, like the guest agreed with the host. But then in future on Twitter and on Facebook and whatnot, the behavior was exactly the same as the entire time. So I often wonder, like, is it easier to get somebody to agree to your face than it is to get them to really get a hold of what you're saying?
It definitely is. And it really helps to frame it not like I am beating you down in a debate and therefore you must submit to me.
Right.
But more like, hey, I'm going to validate your emotions. Your emotions are valid. And how do we establish shared equal goals that we can both pursue together? And now let's figure out the right tactics, because your tactics are wrong.
Right.
If you told someone that, hey, we share the same goals, but your current tactics are wrong, they're much more likely to change their tactics as opposed to change their goals.
I feel like this whole conversation is kind of like a bit like robotic overlordy, right? Like, do you know what I mean? We're like, these humans have these emotions.
Petty humans in their
I
emotions.
do not know why. We will validate them. Like, like
Well,
they will submit. Like, I don't know.
Hey, we as skeptics, we as secular people, those things are less important to us. We're more analytical thinkers, but we have to remember that, like, yes, we are more robotic, and we are accused of being more robotic. But hey, we need to figure out how the other side thinks, because there are 10 of them for every one of us.
So I will admit that I'm an emotional retard. Like my therapist was like, "How did you feel when such a thing happened?" And I'm like,
I don't know what.
No, I was like, it took me like a while, and I was like, good. She's like, good is not a feeling, and I'm like, oh fuck, I suck at this shit. Like,
what is this feelings you speak of?
Would you say that there's so you have your emotional thinkers, but at the same time there are people that are emotionally attached to their arguments, which is different. Would you say you run into that a little more often as a base thing?
So there's a difference between arguments and goals, and what
right.
It's important to remember. Something that it's very easy to forget in the heat of the debates is that we share so much more with other people than we are different from. I mean, with other secular people, let's say we share 99% of things. But let's say with someone who is a mainstream religious person, we'll probably share about 95% of things. Right. And I mean things like caring for our families, wanting safety and security, wanting, people to be overall happy and so on, and, wanting to have a normal job. These are everyday things that we care about, and we share these things. So what we always need to do when we find a contention is to step back and see what we do share and focus on those things. And stepping up and seeing what we do share will really help to figure out the exact points of disagreement and see whether the disagreement is about a tactical thing.
Right.
Because essentially Scott Sloan and I, we agree that we want safety and security. He's just going about it in a screwed up way, as are most Republicans, by persecuting Muslims. So if we go and we show them how they're going about it in a screwed up way, that really helps. And, I'm using like honest terminology, screwed up ways kind of here.
Right.
I mean, obviously I wouldn't use that when I speak to but,
they don't like that when you tell them they're screwed up.
Yes. Yeah. For some reason, they don't like that. Yes. They, tends to get them aggressive and defensive. And these are basically the emotions you want to avoid. Aggressiveness and defensiveness in the part of your audience. These are going to be really shut them down and prevent them from engaging with you in a healthy way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can sort of relate this to some of the discussions I've had in recent months, and even though often people think that their arguments are based on reason and rationality, they are still using their emotional side of things to kind of get to where they're going, and they rationalize it after the fact. And I wonder if we don't all fall into that trap a little bit if we think we're if we think we're above falling into that trap?
Yeah. So there's research showing that people who are smarter, the smartest people are usually the ones most likely to think that they don't have biases and they don't have fallacies. There's actually research showing that. So what I find really helps for that is to develop a sense of humility and a really strong sense of humility and a really strong eagerness to update beliefs. And that's, kind of one of the things that I very strongly encourage people to do, to really be very kind of humble in the sense of being willing to update, say that they're wrong, and re-explore, reevaluate things, and celebrate when they update their beliefs. So here we're going toward emotions, our own emotions, emotional management, and those of others. Right. We want to celebrate ourselves and give ourselves a mental pat in the back when we change our minds, and we want to celebrate others and give them pats in the back when they change their minds. Because we're emotional creatures as well, and that's really important to do. So research on behavioral science suggests that positive reinforcement is vital if we want to change our behaviors toward behaviors that we want to follow and change other people's behaviors. So giving them positive reinforcement and giving yourself positive reinforcement for behaviors that you want to see happen is really good.
So I guess, is that kind of where the pro-truth pledge comes in? Is this kind of mutual reinforcement of updating one's beliefs based on facts?
That's one aspect of it. So the pro-truth pledge is a project. So for listeners, you can follow along at protruthpledge.org. So again, that's protruthpledge.org. And it's a project designed to, in a very comprehensive way, roll back the tide of lies in our political system and promote truth. And this is a global project. We have people from the US, UK, Australia, Canada, of course, from South Africa, Iran. We have people from 6 continents, taking the pro-truth pledge. And what it basically is 12 behaviors. And for people who are following along, you can see them on the website. And I'll just read a few for people who aren't following along. So fact-check information to confirm it is true before accepting it and sharing it. Reevaluate if my information is challenged and retract it if I can't verify it. Ask people to retract information that reliable sources have disproved, even if these people are my allies. And celebrate those who retract incorrect statements and update their beliefs toward the truth. And 8 more behaviors like this. So that last one that I mentioned, celebrating, is a component of positive reinforcement. But all of these behaviors, and we can go into each of them, are designed by a group of behavioral scientists, including myself, who have researched what behaviors are most likely to cause people to orient toward the truth. What does it mean to orient toward the truth? When my wife went to a doctor a few years ago and he told her that she needs to lose weight, and didn't give her any advice on losing weight, that's really not helpful. She came down, she came home and she's like, whatever. She was really upset because she didn't know what to do. What does it mean to lose weight? Well, when you tell someone to speak the truth or be truthful, what does it mean? This is a very vague term, truth. So what we did is created 12 very clear behaviors that are aligned with an orientation toward the truth. And this is quite clearly shown in the behavioral science literature, that if you give people clear guidelines on what it means to be truth-oriented, they're much more likely, they're statistically significantly more likely to be truth-oriented than not. If you don't give people clear guidelines and you just tell them orient toward the truth. So this is just one aspect of the pledge that's oriented toward behavioral science. Now, the other aspect of the pledge is crowdsourcing. We crowdsource the truth. And so we get people, ordinary people, like the listeners of this podcast, they go to protruthpledge.org and sign up. They click the orange button that says, take the Pro-Truth Pledge. They sign up. And that begins a whole cycle that induces public figures, prominent public figures, to sign up to the pledge. And I can talk about
that. So I wonder a little bit about the crowdsourcing aspect of this.
Sure.
Like, how does that, is that supposed to work? And how is it a abuse of the system? Well, maybe you could describe the system a little bit first.
Sure.
And then we can talk about how that abuse might be avoided.
Definitely. So the first part of the system is that somebody goes to protruthpledge.org, and for listeners who are following along with the website, you can click the orange button that says Take the Pledge. You'll see that one of the things you can do, some of the things you must do is give your name, your email, and your last name. Your first name, your last name, email, these are the things that are obligatory. You can opt out of getting newsletters, so it's not like, we won't send you the stuff if you don't want it. Now, other things we encourage people to give, which is not obligatory, is your phone, your home address. The reason that is important is that one of the aspects of the pledge is it functions as a petition. So we go to your elected representatives and say, hey, here's how many people in your district took the pro-truth pledge. How about you take it as well? So that's why address is important, again, not obligatory. Then provide link to your Facebook profile and so on. We have a public database of people who chose to take the pro-truth pledge and list themselves as public. So you don't have to if you don't want to list yourselves as a public person who took the pro-truth pledge. Then you could say that you are willing to help with the pro-truth pledge and choose the kind of updates you get. Now, so here's where we get into the public figures aspect of it. Public figures, we're taking research from what worked for the environmental movement in the successes it had in fighting pollution of the environment. Now, pollution of truth in politics is very similar to pollution of the environment. There are lots and lots of people who are who are motivated to a small degree to do something about it, and there are relatively few people, very small portion of people who are very, very motivated to pollute truth in politics or pollute the environment, the big polluters, we can call them. So in order to coordinate these people who want to fight this, together the mass of people who care about the environment or who care about truth in politics far outweighs the polluters and far outweighs the liars. But you need to coordinate these people. You need to get them together. And the pro-truth pledge is a coordination mechanism. It gets them together and gets them united. So the people who are truth tellers, they can sign, the public figures, they can sign the pro-truth pledge, and their information then gets sent out to all the people who signed up for the infrequent email updates. So that's why it's important to have as many people sign up for the email updates. It provides an inducement to public figures to be sent out. So, for example, if you have a talk show host or a podcast show host or a politician or a journalist who signs up to the pro-truth pledge, they know that their information will be sent out to hundreds and thousands and eventually dozens and hundreds of thousands of people. They want that. They want to be known. They want more followers. They want more support. So that's the carrot. Another aspect of the carrot is that they get to list the pro-truth pledge badge on their website as people who took the pro-truth pledge, and so that's like a Better Business Bureau listing. So it's an opt-in system, and people can choose to list themselves in that way. And they're listed on the pro-truth pledge website as public figures who took the pro-truth pledge. That's one aspect of it. Now, on the other aspect of it, we hold them accountable. A proportion of all people who sign up have the opportunity to help with the pro-truth pledge, and they can just click saying that they want to help with the pro-truth pledge. Of the people who say that they want to help with it, one of the things that they do is they follow and evaluate public figures to make sure that they stick to the pro-truth pledge. So that's one of the things that they do. And the public figures get a benefit out of that because it's known that they are held publicly accountable. Someone is following them. Someone is providing external validation of their words as true and accurate, as abiding by the pro-truth pledge. So that's great because then they have that external validation. Again, in similarity to a Better Business Bureau validation for a business, that means that somebody is evaluating the business and making sure the business has reasonable business practices. Otherwise, they get kicked out of the Better Business Bureau. Similar way, public figures who don't abide by the pro-truth pledge would get penalized for not abiding by the pro-truth pledge.
Okay, that sounds sounds all right. I just wonder how is the accountability set up so that someone who has ill will, for example, doesn't abuse it or can't just cause some damage to somebody's reputation through this?
Yeah, so that's for people who are following along on the website, the relevant FAQ is FAQ3. How are pledge takers held accountable? So for public figures, we're not talking about private citizens. Private citizens, they just, let's say, tweet about taking the pledge and then their own community holds them accountable. they can also join the Pro-Truth Pledge community online and in person. We have them set up in a number of locations in the U.S. and online, of course, and we're intending to expand into Canada, the UK, and Australia in the near future. So, for public figures who are held accountable, we have a number of levels. And this is a model we're borrowing from Wikipedia, which has worked really well. Anyone in Wikipedia can go in the back and try to edit an article. So, in the same way, anyone who takes the Pro-Truth Pledge can choose to become volunteer and follow and evaluate a public figure.
Right.
However, Wikipedia also has editorial access. So people who are longtime members of the community, who are vetted and trusted, are given editorial access. And what that means is that they can lock an article for editing and prevent it from being edited by others. And so we have a second level of committees. So anyone who finds that a public figure, let's say let's say congressional representative, going to congressional representative. Let's say that public figure makes a statement that somebody who is a pro-truth pledge advocate thinks is misinformation. We have clear definitions of misinformation, which we can talk about. Okay. They are asked to go to that public figure and behind the scenes, not make a big public stink, not anything like that, just ask for clarification with an innocent until proven guilty assumption approach. Maybe they misheard, maybe they misunderstood. And if it doesn't get resolved at that level, then they go to a mediating committee. The mediating committee is like the Wikipedia editors. It's trusted members of the Pro-Truth Pledge community who've been in it for a while and can be trusted to evaluate things accurately. And then they evaluate the situation. They approach the public figure. They ask for clarification and so on. And there's a thorough evaluation process which is described in the FAQ. And if at that point the public figure, at the end of a number of requests where it's very clear that the public figure violated the Pro-Truth Pledge, one of the three things that violates it, then that's when we go public. We send if it's a congressional candidate, we send a press release to all the media outlets in that candidate's district about the person being in contempt of the Pro-Truth Pledge, because now we think that the person deliberately intended to lie. Didn't just make a statement by mistake. Anyone can make a mistake. I can make a mistake. Right. Not a big deal. We celebrate people who update their beliefs and retract incorrect statements. Right. Right. Great. Now we go to the media at that stage. We also send an action alert to all the people in that person's congressional district, which is why it's so important for everyone to sign up for action alerts, notifications in that way. And the action alert gives someone the clear evidence that somebody violated the Pro-Truth Pledge and then refused to retract it, so they're in contempt of the Pro-Truth Pledge, and asks them to tweet the congressional candidate, email the person, call the person, meet with the person, protest the person's office, write letters to the editor, basically raise a big stink. And they're also listed as in contempt of the Pro-Truth Pledge on the Pro-Truth Pledge website. That's a pretty serious reputational hit. So, we figure that if somebody doesn't intend to lie, they would be better off not signing the Pro-Truth Pledge at all. Yeah. But at some point, definitely somebody will try to test it, and then they'll get the reputational hit.
So there's no current examples of people who have done that or have...
Oh, there are people who have certainly violated the pledge. So, for example, I can go with the congressional representative again. There's Michael Smith from Idaho. He posted a post on his Facebook that was a tweet of Donald Trump saying that, minority and disabled children, I'm not sure they belong in the classroom, they're too disruptive. So then it wasn't in Donald Trump's feed, and we talked to this guy about it, and he couldn't find it. And, so Donald Trump may have deleted the tweet, or it may have been photoshopped to look like Donald Trump's tweet.
Right. Which is, or a parody account or something.
Exactly. So he edited the statement to say, due to the Pro-Truth Pledge I've taken, I am no longer sure about the accuracy of the statement. And it had 18 shares on Facebook by the time he made it, so it's kind of like a significant thing. He's a congressional candidate.
Right.
So that's the ideal desired outcome we want, a person retracting the statement. It didn't go further than that. I anticipate in the large majority of cases it won't, because people are going to be afraid of the reputational hit of going to the media and, all the media sting, the reputational hit.
So then the pledge is mostly an intellectual stopgap, basically, like a second chance for them to come to terms with something that they've posted and then realize that it's actually wrong.
It's a
getting called out by a community as opposed to just one person on their Facebook page.
It's a statement that they care about the truth, that they're committed to the truth, and they are fine being evaluated by others for whether they are stating the truth. Like I said, like a Better Business Bureau, that you want to practice. You not only simply practice good business practices. Now, someone who didn't take the pro-truth pledge, it doesn't mean that they're a liar. It doesn't mean that they deceive. It just means that we don't know. We have no idea. Now, if someone is similarly a business that isn't part of the Better Business Bureau, it may be the best business in the world. You just don't know because no one is giving that external stamp of validation. It means that if someone takes the pro-truth pledge and puts the badge on their website, that means that that person wants to be known as committed to the truth and committed to being externally validated and evaluated and monitored and assured that they are oriented toward the truth. So that is what it means. And part of that means if a person makes a mistake, the person will be called out by the pro-truth pledge, and then the person will retract the statement, and that's great. That's what we want. We want people to update their beliefs, and we're happy when they do so.
Not to get too bogged into the bureaucratics of it, but you mentioned the second level of trusted committee or trusted members. Is that list of members going to be transparent in some way, or is there it's going to be so we are state organized, so it's going to be organized or region organized. Once we expand into Canada, it will be regions, it won't be states, but it's going to be called together by the organizer of the state or the region for each region. So that person will, in the end, be responsible for the outcome of the committee process. And it will be transparent. People will know who's in the committee. It's not like a hidden committee. So while the deliberations of the committee will not be necessarily known, the people on the committee will be known, and they will make a clear report of their findings available as part of a news release. So if somebody was looking into it, then they could find the information that kind of, okay, these are the people who talked about my case, and this is how it was deliberated.
Yes, absolutely. The person who is the public figure who is being evaluated would be approached by members of the committee multiple times to be given the opportunity to explain, clarify things, retract, whatever we want to get as much accomplished behind the scenes as possible.
Right.
We want as little reputational damage to a person who takes the pro-truth pledge as possible, because otherwise you're not going to get politicians to sign on.
Yeah, for sure.
We want politicians to sign on. That's like a big target, as well as journalists, of course. But there's, podcast hosts and so on. But politicians are really the people we would love to sign on. So we have a number of signed on already.
Sorry, so let's say you have somebody in your region, and a group of you notice that he has posted something false, or that you consider false, but he considers it true, and you guys do go back and forth for, let's say, days or a week or weeks, and you both steadfastly disagree on what's true. So what happens at that point if you can't reach a consensus on truth?
If the committee makes a decision, so it's the vote of the committee that makes a decision on whether the statement is true. The public figure making the statement obviously has a personal stake in not having the statement be false. So we're not just giving it would be like saying, well, let's say a business is going back and forth with the Better Business Bureau about whether it's a bad business practice or not. Yeah, I'm going to trust the Better Business Bureau, not the business, because the Better Business Bureau doesn't have a stake in the game, doesn't have a reason to call out this business if it's not worthwhile. Now, we specifically laid out 3 clear things that are going to be violations of the pro-truth pledge. One is, and if someone is interested in this, there's a blog called What is Misinformation on the pro-truth pledge website, and that defines it in very clear details. What is misinformation? So it's anything. There are 3 things, and the first of these 3 things is obvious lies. I'm not a Japanese woman currently living in Havana, that's not a thing that describes me. That would be an obvious lie. We can all recognize that. So similarly, Hillary Clinton didn't land under sniper fire in Bosnia. That was an obvious lie. Americans didn't get to keep their healthcare plan in 2013. Right. Iraq didn't have a massive weapons of mass destruction program with huge stockpiles. That's an obvious lie. Examples of obvious lies. Now, the second thing is something that goes against credible, worthwhile fact-checking organizations. In order to avoid being accused of bias in finding and deciding on fact-checking organizations, we decided to just go with the same ones that Facebook uses for its news fact-checking program, fake news fact-checking program. Facebook has a huge financial incentive in only working with the most credible and reputable ones. So we're just going with the Facebook on this one. We're not choosing our own.
You mean left book?
Yes, whichever side of the aisle you're on, right? Yes. And then finally, the scientific consensus. Science is the best method that we as human beings have of determining the truth. So if there's a clear scientific consensus on something, we consider going against that by anyone who is not an expert scientist in that field to be a violation of the pro-truth pledge. So, for example, on the leftist side, there would be things like anti-vaxxers, people who think that vaccines cause autism. That goes against the clear scientific consensus. That would be considered a violation of the pro-truth pledge.
Right.
We had, for example, I had an interview with a radio interview where the radio show host was interested in taking the pro-truth pledge, but she turned out to be an anti-vaxxer, so she didn't. Then on the right side, things would be climate change deniers, people who say that humans didn't contribute in a major way to the change in climate on the Earth, which goes against scientific consensus. So these are the three things that we consider violations of the pro-truth pledge, and we're pretty comfortable that the committee that's called together can determine that, and we would stand behind the committee.
Do you distinguish between lies and things that are not true, but people didn't know weren't true? Like, for example, let's say George W. Bush thought Iraq had weapons of mass destruction at the time. So to him, he wasn't lying. It turns out he was just mistaken. Do you distinguish in that?
Sure. I mean, if someone is mistaken and provided clear evidence that, that's not the case, that's fine. If the person retracts his or her claims afterward.
Right.
It's about retracting the claims. So, for example, with the current president, Donald Trump, we had plenty of Republicans as well as Democrats call him out on his claims that Obama ordered Trump Tower wiretapped in the 2016 election. It's not the case. That did not happen. He's been called out on it a number of times, and he still keeps repeating and insisting on that.
Right.
So that is an example of a clear, blatant lie.
Right.
Do you ever call out any, well-known people who have not signed on to the pro-truth pledge? And
no, this is like the Better Business Bureau. They wouldn't call out people who didn't sign up to the Better Business Bureau. In a similar way, we're not a fact-checking organization. We're not going to call out people who didn't sign up to the pro-truth pledge. Now, is it going to be known that these people didn't sign up after we approach them? Sure. That's a factual piece of information, yes. And that's fine. We make one of the things we aim to do in order to decrease the likelihood of being accused of bias is when one candidate in a political race takes the pro-truth pledge, we make a particular effort to go to all other candidates in that race and talk to them about taking the pro-truth pledge. Because one of the things that a candidate who takes the pro-truth pledge and her opponents don't take the pro-truth pledge can do is attack her opponents for not taking the pro-truth pledge. We want to make sure that her opponents have a fair chance of taking the pro-truth pledge before being attacked for not taking the pro-truth pledge.
Fair enough.
I have a question. How do you non-patronizingly congratulate somebody for changing their mind about an issue?
Good job.
Good job.
I'd say wonderful. I'm so glad that we're now on the same page. That's great. I really appreciate you taking the time, to do so. So with a very genuine, enthusiastic kind of appeal. Okay. Now, I know it's very tempting to be snarky and ironic. It's like, finally, jeez. Yeah. It's about time, you know. Hey, yeah. You missed the train 3 trains ago, but now you got this one. Congratulations.
I do that at work every day. Every day.
I've had some really intense conversations with my brother the last while, and he insists that autism is affected by diet. And I tried to I'm not always the most effective conversationalist, and he was adamant that it affected diet, but I don't know. I think that his reasoning was a little bit off. Like you said, his tactics were kind of flawed.
Well, autism affects diet, but diet does not affect autism.
Well, you know.
I would know, yes.
You would know. But he was convinced. He was adamant, and he remains obviously adamant because this is a week ago, that diet affects autism.
I mean, it does in the fact that as long as you have a diet, you'll still have autism. Whereas if you stop having a diet, you will stop having autism.
That's a fair point. Do you know why he has that belief?
Jenny McCarthy.
InfoWars.
No, I hope not. If my
Jenny
brother
Wars.
Jenny Wars, he kind of lives in a really strange place. He's a skeptic to a degree, but he's a bit of an anti-vaxxer, and he also is adamant that autism is affected by diet. He's very convinced that the ketogenic diet is the next best thing, and he thinks that it's really effective for various conditions. I think he said epilepsy. I think, but
I hear that.
You can just tell your brother he's wrong and just carry on.
It was funny because I made his voice break.
In this case, I think he's probably has a strong narrative, personal narrative that the ketogenic diet is like the best thing ever, and it might be important for him to believe these things in order for him to motivate himself to go on the ketogenic diet. I don't know. I can't, read his mind. But these are things that might be going on.
You're a behavioral scientist, so you would have good perspective on that sort of thing.
So I'm just kind of saying some things that might be going on in his mind.
Yeah.
Some people who try to motivate themselves to do certain things really invest their energy and effort into thinking thing X is the best thing ever. It's the solution to AIDS and cancer, and will bring about world peace.
Yes.
So let me just promote thing X. It's like when you have a hammer, everything's a nail, right?
If you have a big enough hammer, it's true.
Yeah,
that's true. That's right.
Yes. That's kind of one of these things. So he might not be in a good mental state to be disabused of that notion, if it's important for his identity to believe that the ketogenic diet is the best thing ever.
He's an enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a vest. I think he's pretty stubborn, but his little sister disagreeing with him, I think that's the hardest thing for him. So
you're a smart person.
Thank you.
So what made you decide to fight all the evil, lying politicians? Besides the fact that they're evil, lying politicians.
Sure.
Besides the obvious.
Do you have a cape?
Thanks.
Just kidding.
One of the things I was thinking about is that we tend to think of people as evil, lying politicians, but the thing that causes them to be evil and lying is that there's no mechanism, there's no incentives for them to not be evil and lying. Politicians aren't optimizing for honesty. They aren't optimizing for truthfulness. They're optimizing to win elections.
Well, that's why they're lawyers.
Right. Lots of them are lawyers. And, oh, gosh.
Lifelong politicians.
It's really hard to get lawyers to take the pro-truth pledge because they try to, equalize it. Jeez. Yeah, I was talking to one of these. But anyway, so with politicians, I was looking at the system, and other behavioral scientists were looking at the system, and just our system is not set up to favor truth, to favor honesty. It's set up to favor winning, and winning means appealing to emotions and personal beliefs in our current society. That's what's favored. So in order to change that, we need to change the incentives. And the Pro-Truth Pledge changes the incentives and coordinates all the people who care about truth to actually go out and do something about it. Take 2 minutes to go to protruthpledge.org and sign up. It's an easy thing. The easier you can make things for people, the more likely they are to participate. There's few things more easy than going to protruthpledge.org and signing up for the Pro-Truth Pledge. It takes, like I said, 2 minutes. And then you can do more things. You can tweet about it, you can share about it with friends and so on. You can volunteer, you can donate. But the lowest level thing is very easy. So what I was looking to do, and other behavioral scientists were looking to do, is see what can be an easy thing that can coordinate what we were pretty sure is a large amount of people who are incredibly frustrated with the lies and deceptions in our political system. And we were motivated by the 2016 election cycle in the United States and then the UK. That was the huge kind of thing that really pushed us because, geez, the lies and deceptions in the Brexit campaign and then the US elections campaign were just much larger than previous, which is why Oxford Dictionary chose post-truth politics as its word of the year in 2016. So
That's right.
Yep, that's what we were motivated by.
Have you found any kind of areas where there was dispute on what was factual and what was true, where there was kind of a gray area, the sources that you use for fact checking and the scientific consensus, none of it's really clear. Like it seems like a lot of social issues don't have these clear lines that we're looking for when we say
gray areas.
Something's true and something's not true. Like,
sure.
Have you encountered much of that?
Yeah, we encountered an edge case where it was about a potential misinterpretation of somebody's words. And we decided not to pursue it because it wasn't nearly as clear as we wanted it to be in terms of like, no, we don't want to push this person, and get into like, oh, did this person really misinterpret the other person's words or not? That would just be a mess. We want to pursue situations with the Pro-Truth Pledge or violations of the Pro-Truth Pledge where it's a pretty clear violation. And that's pretty easy to do when you look at the, climate change denial, anti-vaxxer, all the stuff.
Pizzagate didn't happen.
Yeah, Pizzagate didn't happen, exactly.
Pizza Rat totally happened.
Yes, that was cool. Yes. And all of these things, we want to pursue cases where it's pretty clear cut that they're a violation, not like, oh, this is a fuzzy area.
Right.
Because it's not going to get further.
So let's say that that your group finds flaw with something that a politician has said or written, and then turns out that he's actually correct, and your watchdogs and people that are, I guess watchdog is not, it's a bit of a detractor.
Fact checking sites,
fact checking people and stuff. He ends up actually proving them wrong and that he's right. Would that get like honorable mention on the website or something?
I mean, I'm sure that would be, something
if it ever happens.
Sure, it's something sent around in a newsletter that would say, "Oh, we update our beliefs about this politician."
Right,
he actually was right. I estimate the probability of that as like close to zero.
So there's a chance.
Yeah.
Sure. There's a chance that Donald Trump won the popular vote. It's close to zero.
It's close to zero. But that's right.
Zero. 0.000001. Chance.
So while you're championing this, are you still being very forward in championing the fight against the stigma of mental disorders and illnesses?
Very much so.
Good.
So that's I am someone who suffers from mental illness from an anxiety disorder that I developed about 3 years ago. And I had videos, I had articles about my own personal mental illness. And I take Wellbutrin right now. I've actually recently switched from Zoloft because I was gaining too much weight in that. Well, Wellbutrin is giving me some dizzy spells, but at least it's not as bad as weight gain. So I am very much forward and open about my mental illness, and I take opportunities to talk about that when the topic comes up. I anticipate I'll be talking about that more in the near future because I'm having some problems with my employer at Ohio State with mental illness discrimination. So there might be more opportunities to talk about that openly.
Well, and insurance is really brutal when it comes to mental illness. So.
Oh, yes. And if Obamacare, that's definitely a major debate in the U.S. I don't know what the situation is in Canada. I think you guys have a better situation with health insurance of mental illness in Canada than we do in the United States, unfortunately. But yeah, that's not a good situation.
In some ways, it's good in some ways.
Yeah, it's still one of those things that's not as well understood as it should be, because it's like an invisible illness, right? Like,
yeah.
Like here, if you're sick or you break your arm or you get a disease, you go see your doctor and you go to the hospital and it gets treated. With mental illness, it's not that cut and dry.
Yeah.
If they say you need to go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, it's not covered unless you have private insurance. So it's very similar to the U.S.
Certain places are covered, but other places aren't.
And for certain things, it is. And,
it's very convoluted and not quite as good as it should be.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I hope it improves. I mean, I care a lot about mental illness and addressing mental illness stigma now. I am choosing not to focus. There are lots of people who are focusing on that, so I'm choosing to focus my efforts on where they're best, where I feel that I can use them most effectively to improve the world. I am at heart a utilitarian. That's the value system. Utilitarian meaning wanting the most good for the most number.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I feel that this pro-truth pledge effort is where I can make the most difference. So there are other areas that I care about, like secular activism, like mental illness activism. But I'm really focusing my energy on fighting lies in politics because I think I'm uniquely positioned to make a difference in a way that I'm not in the other fields.
Fair enough. So I guess you kind of touched on the websites and stuff already, but just to repeat it, where can people find more about this and how can people sign up?
If people want to talk to me about it, I'd be always happy to chat to them. My email is gleb, Gleb, at intentionalinsights.org. Again, that's gleb at intentionalinsights.org. The nonprofit I run, which also runs the Pro-Truth Pledge Project, is Intentional Insights, and I'm the volunteer president of that. I also donate 10% of my income to that, and I welcome other people to donate to it too, at intentionalinsights.org. And the Pro-Truth Pledge Project is at protruthpledge.org. I encourage everyone to take 2 minutes to go to protruthpledge.org and sign up and cast your vote for truth in politics. Make a difference that way. And I want to check with you guys and girls whether you are interested in signing the Pro-Truth Pledge yourself.
Well, I admit I've been skeptical. I've been watching various people sign up and other people kind of rejecting it, and I've been sitting fairly skeptical. But I think that I will sign up when I get up tomorrow.
I'm a car salesman,
so he can't.
So I will definitely sign up.
And you'll have the committee at your door every day.
Every day. Be posting. You'll be blacklisted before you know it.
I'm not much of a public figure.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on.
All right. Well, thanks very much for your time, Gleb. I guess if there's nothing else that we need to touch on before we let you go.
I asked my question.
Everybody's good?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
This was great. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you signed up. All right. Have a good
one.
Take care. Good night.
You too.
All right. Let's cut out. We'll go to a commercial for a short break.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug, or other gear from our store at cafepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off.
What's up, secular minorities? This is Uber47, host of the Secular Barbershop Podcast, a podcast run by a secularist of color for secularists of all colors. I invite you to come in, relax, and listen in on a conversation that changes every week in a secular environment. And, like every barbershop, walk-ins are welcome. Talk to you soon.
I will speak slowly, and I will repeat this, and I will.
Well, and it wasn't his video.
Hello. We're back.
We're back. We're back.
Side conversations.
Don't care.
Side conversation's over.
What's going on?
That's a good question. How was everybody's 2-week break?
Man, I want to do an anti-truth thing.
Anti-truth.
Anti-truth pledge.
Alternative
pro-lies pledge.
Alternative truth pledge.
Called InfoWars.
It's already
done. Fox News.
Shit.
Fox News.
News.
Faux news. Fake news.
That's a cornered market. All right. Gummy, how was your 2-week break?
I worked.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did anything interesting at all happen?
No, worked.
Okay.
Come on.
You live an interesting life.
No, I worked.
Did you go see
I won't
any
be here for the next
movies?
show
Why not?
because I'll be
you're fishing.
up north.
Yeah, fishing.
Yeah,
Be on your
yeah,
magical
movies.
canoe trip.
That's right. It's
New
magical
Spider-Man.
canoe trip.
New Spider-Man was amazing. Best Spider-Man movie ever.
Really?
Yes,
Bar none?
bar none.
It's huge.
It's not a high bar.
You yelled Adam West,
Adam West.
or
is
not
in
Adam West.
Spider-Man.
Sorry,
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire.
Fucking love those movies.
He was not
He
my
was
Spider-Man.
terrible.
He was my Spider-Man. I like that.
Spider douche.
You guys.
Hashtag not my Spider-Man.
Awesome.
I didn't vote for that Spider-Man.
That's hilarious.
Brilliant. Leo, what did you do the last couple weeks?
Oh dear. I worked. Got a little tan.
Nice.
Nice.
And then I listened to a podcast today saying how dangerous getting tans is.
Ah, yes.
By the
You're going to die soon.
stuff you should know. Like they explain how it worked. And I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit. I know it's not that bad, but not when you say it
Extra
when you say it that
tasty,
way.
crispy.
Yeah.
Like the risk for melanoma or
Well,
what?
just how the radiation affects you, like which type of radiation affects your fucks with your DNA, and which type makes you age and shit like that. But I was like, I know that this is not that big a deal. Like you can be out in the sun every once in a while, but just thinking like, oh, the sun is hitting me right now, my DNA is like slowly being fucked up.
It's like, yeah,
it's
scary.
I was actually out fishing, not last Sunday, the Sunday before on the boat, and I forgot to wear a hat. Yeah, on a motherfucking boat, and
Yes.
totally
Was it a
forgot
canoe?
sunscreen, and I was burning so bad that I got hungry.
Oh no.
So I'm like, man, I could go for some KFC or some
Oh
barbecue.
no, that's
No,
bad.
you mean you had
That's
brain
bad.
damage? That's what you're talking about.
Were you smoking a joint?
I was cooking. My skin was cooking.
Yeah. You were
Made me
smelling
hungry.
burnt flesh
Yeah.
and thinking
It's
KFC.
starting to smell like bacon.
Oh, that spice mix is really
right.
nice.
That's a Weyburn
It's Old
impulse.
Spice.
Weyburn.
Must cue it
Weyburn was
buffet.
voted like the
Buffet.
5th best place to live by
in
Money
the
Sense
universe,
magazine.
in the greater Weyburn area.
Most people The people who rate that shit
have never been to
no
Weyburn.
fucking idea what they're talking about.
There's a KFC buffet. How could you not love them?
I think a lot of those things they put a map on the wall and then they throw darts like at it, being blindfolded, and then wherever the darts land, the numbered darts, like 1, 2, 3,
Just with
4,
a few
5.
exceptions. You know, they put little asterisks like if these darts accidentally land on Detroit. Nah.
They cut out Detroit, and then if it lands there, it's like a black hole is actually that number. Yeah,
Just put a bouncy substance right there. No, it just bounced right off. It's
Mulligan.
It might. You know what? That might be a hoax because of like Will Ferrell says he's gonna live in Saskatoon because he broke down and people came and helped him out. Maybe it's just a bullshit hoax website that says Weyburn is a great place to live.
Well,
I don't know.
I read, after reading the article, it sounded like
really
the
awesome.
stats were like really skewed. Like it's like high median income. Well, of course it is because all the fucking goofballs live over in the rich area of town, and who gives a shit about the rest of us? They bring the average up.
But why would you make fake news out of that? So because 99.9% of people reading it have no fucking idea what Weyburn is. Hey, what's Weyburn?
Except that like shared by everyone. It's on my Facebook from my high school.
It's a little skewed by you. It's a little skewed.
Only people from Weyburn know where Weyburn is.
Yeah, that's right.
That's one of your examples of the social research thing being more gray because because the stats can show you that, but then all the details of the actual living standards are a little more murky.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
How would they skew boredom? Like
teen pregnancy.
You'd have to correlate it with teen pregnancy and drug use,
or the combination of the two.
The number of pregnant teens doing drugs and breaking into people's houses. I only knew 4 people like that.
I was really bored, but I didn't get pregnant when I was a teenager.
We used to drive down the alleys.
You didn't. That's because you still had Jesus.
If the right opportunity presented itself, I would have given that shit.
If we had met Angela, but I wouldn't have got
pickets
you
be
pregnant.
slim in a tiny town.
We used to drive down the alley, pick up garbage cans, and then throw them at fence posts. Because that's how boring Weyburn was.
Or drive around and throw garbage bags of like garbage in the back of a truck that you're driving, and then throw them on balconies of apartments as you drove by.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad for being bored as a teenager in Calgary. Like I had all the opportunity in the world.
Oh man.
I don't know. We'd skip school and go down to Chinatown, have pho, whatever.
What?
Yeah.
So badass.
That was not a thing that you could do in Weyburn.
So did you have that for dinner?
We had it for lunch, and then we had dinner in the evening. That's what we fucking did. Like normal fucking people who don't live in Saskatchewan.
It's pronounced pho.
I actually knew that because we would bring our Asian friend and he would tell us it's pronounced pho, and then we'd go play DDR.
You know what?
It's fucking true, right?
I'm going to make a micromanager out of Lego and give it to Gumby.
Sweet. I will put that in my office. I swear to God.
Everyone in Weyburn calls it foul supper, not foul dinner. So,
Yeah, that's right.
foul suppers.
It's KFC suffer buffet,
You
bitch.
don't even know what a foul supper is, probably.
Well, they might.
Actually, let me double check that.
Depends
it
on
might be
how you
dinner
spell
buffet.
foul.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
To be sorry, just for the listeners who don't fucking know, here in Saskatchewan, everyone calls dinner supper.
Did you know
What?
that
Do
the
you know
definition
everyone
of
in
supper
Saskatchewan?
is a meal in the evening?
Okay, fine. I have no problem with supper. The problem is the lack of synonymity with dinner that I find very confusing. Anyways,
That's a good
I
word.
think dinner is.
I made it up.
We just can't compare
No, I
to the
didn't.
intellectual levels of Calgary.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
We're so
The
fucking
cult-
Calgary.
Yeah.
Fuck
The
you
cow.
all. Fuck
cow.
you so bad.
Greatest prime minister ever.
Yes.
Nenshi? I fucking love Nenshi.
No, he's a mayor.
I know, but he could be my prime minister. I wouldn't mind.
He could be my prime minister.
We love him.
I'd vote for that
I'm
shit.
not sure if this is sexual or.
Yeah,
serious.
that's what I was
When-
KFC supper
That's the
buffet.
way you said it. He could be my prime minister.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As I was saying it, I was like, wait a minute. What are we talking
No.
about?
No. I only have eyes for Angela.
Speaking of Angela, how was your break?
It was interesting. Like I was saying during the interview, I had some interesting conversations with my brother. It's funny because he's long been one of the people in my life that is very opinionated, and I think in some ways I've looked up to him a lot because he's, fuck you, I'll do what I want kind of. And anytime that I try to have a conversation with him, up until pretty much last weekend, he's just like, fuck you, you don't know anything. Pretty much.
Really?
And so the times we've gotten into it, mostly it's on Twitter. There's back and forth.
Oh, he's on Twitter.
He's on Twitter. He's on Twitter.
You and your brother fight on Twitter? Jesus.
That's awesome.
The only time we communicate.
Wow.
He hangs out with my husband more than I see my brother. But we had an anniversary dinner of celebrating my dad's not death because he had heart surgery last year. And so
that's good.
Woo, you're not dead.
Yeah. Thanks for not being dead, Dad.
Good work.
Bring on the deep fried food.
Oh, yeah. Cold on the cob. And yes. But my brother and I, he had a good... We were talking about the female genital mutilation thing, and we were talking about the autism thing, and we were talking about a lot of different things, and he got really irate when I denied the whole autism being affected by diet thing. And it was interesting, and he was very adamant about that, and I was not giving him any space whatsoever.
Good for you.
Wait, you're related to somebody? I don't even know if she can be on the podcast. If you have a blood relation who thinks that autism is affected by diet, I don't know.
Yeah, actually. I'm related to a couple anti-vaxxers. So I'm related to a lot of God believers too.
Most skeptics are.
I've actually ran the experiments where I didn't feed Loki for 3 days. He didn't get any less autistic. So.
Oh,
but did you feed him fat only?
Did you feed him only avocados?
Yeah.
And butter.
You know what? Feeding your child only avocados would be the equivalent of starving him because he would not fucking eat those things. Mr. Noodles and Butter, when he came to my place, that was it. Just saying. It's just that kind of eater.
Yes. This podcast is one of the only opportunities I have to have actual skeptical conversation. It's one of the few opportunities I have in my life because most of the time I talk to a 5-year-old. That's the person I talk to the most in my day.
Kind of like talking to Gumby, right?
Sometimes that's why I've become so good at it. So quickly.
But the conversation with the 5-year-old's a little more intellectual, right? Like,
I feel included. I'm gonna go play. Need to poop.
Have some more of those gummy bears. It's going to be no problem.
Yeah, those will be the sugar-free ones there. Those
ones that are bad? Okay.
Yeah.
Haribo. Yikes.
How about you, Renee? What'd you do this break?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Nothing? No new weddings?
No, I think I'm done with the weddings.
Period, or just for this year?
As far as I know, period.
Definitely for the season.
Your own? You're not getting... You should just marry yourself.
Yeah.
So you can go camping again.
Yeah.
And then get a divorce.
See, I had someone ask me at the last wedding when I'm getting married, and I almost said, well, depends. Does Air Canada remember to punch the holes in the air, the mail order bride boxes or what? But I didn't. I think that's the only way it's going to happen.
That's why you ship them with WestJet.
That's right. You can trust WestJet.
Yeah.
Trust them. Yep.
I'll have to double check that on the website for those mail order brides then. Do you ship through WestJet? No,
I'm surprised Trump hasn't started that business in North America. He's got all the connections.
Trump brides.
Trump brides. He doesn't want the competition.
That's where he gets his own. He doesn't want to publicize it. He wants to have the best selection for himself.
He probably has a closet full.
Probably.
He might.
Ew, people.
He
Ew.
There's some people lining up
female
to be
order
in that.
brides.
Yeah, female order. Yes.
Women can order brides too.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Ugh.
Mail
bring me
order.
on this shit.
It could just be male as in MALE order brides. I'd like to order a male.
Male bride.
Well, the catalog should have both, right?
Yeah, I mean, it
Shouldn't
be
discriminate.
fair.
No.
Should be.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some guy
Gender equality.
They're
in
gendering.
Russia that wants to be ordered. Sorry, but
Because people who want
If
to
I
be
were-
ordered are, yeah.
I like how this just went straight down the.
But honestly, if
Just
you were a
like-
gay man in Russia, would you not want to be mailed out of the country, right? Like you would.
I think I would.
Fair
Right?
enough.
Like that's
Yeah,
a good
fair
option.
enough.
That's a good exit strategy, actually.
You jump right into that Amazon box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck this shit.
I'm shipping myself to the U.S.
Amazon Prime, one day delivery.
Fuck this. Yes. That would be
That's the way to travel.
Just cover yourself in bubble wrap, and there you go.
Yes.
I mean, lots of people do that on weekends anyway.
Yeah. Why not?
Is that a Weyburn thing?
I don't know.
I don't know. We can afford bubble wrap. It's like 99% air.
Bubble wrap
Yeah.
is something the rest of the world has. Weyburn doesn't have bubble wrap.
You have to be able to buy
That's
things
it.
that get wrapped in bubble
They're
wrap.
demoted
Yeah.
to 6th place. Fuck that.
6th place. Yeah.
Does Weyburn seriously not have bubble wrap? That's weird.
I hope they do. Lisa, what did you do over the last? How's your knitting project coming along?
Oh, well, as you can see, I made a lot of progress. And now it's like somewhat of a shirt.
Because you were knitting on the beach.
I
How's
did
your, how's
it on
your
the
magical flying bird, metal bird thing?
I did that. True. Good point.
Magical canoe trip. Just
Oh, it's,
I
it's a
understood the reference. I
callback.
got the
Helicopter.
reference. I
It's a
got the reference.
callback. I get it.
Gumby's all mad because he was going on a fishing trip, but I thought he was going on a canoe trip, and I asked how his magical canoe trip was going to be, and he was like, "Fuck you," and I was like, "Jesus Christ," you know?
Way to
Potato,
overreact.
potato.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people call it a magical canoe trip. That's okay.
I asked if Miss Frizzle was going to go.
Yeah. Is that the Magic School Bus lady?
That's the Magic School Bus.
And I
teacher. She's
absolutely did
amazing.
not get the joke.
Yeah, Corey didn't get the. We're basically
I never watched
rehashing
that,
dinner
is it?
here. You
You're
didn't
old.
watch
I wasn't
Magic
at dinner.
School Bus?
I didn't go to dinner, so I didn't get the.
You probably
I didn't
weren't
get the
allowed to
preamble.
watch Magic School Bus because
I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons.
It was like science. Yeah, but Magic School Bus is pretty tame, but except it does involve science.
No, I had shitty channel selection. That's
My
why
dad
I was
didn't want
never
me
on.
watching The Simpsons either. He just thought it was just stupid. He just hated it.
He watches hockey.
He watches a lot of things that I think are stupid. But he thought Simpsons was
is
just
awesome.
stupid.
Doesn't he watch baseball?
He watches curling
Oh,
Wow.
and NASCAR.
Oh, yeah. I like to turn left.
How did you turn out the way you did, Corey? This is amazing. Like,
I
actually,
don't know.
Ultimate form of rebellion.
yes.
Fuck you, Dad. I'm going to be fucking skeptical and only believe evidence-based things. Dad's like,
Fuck sports.
fucking watch
Hey,
NASCAR.
it was a long uphill battle for Corey to become
It
skeptical.
was actually.
Really
Yeah.
interesting. Tell us about the story, Corey.
No, I don't know. If
Come on.
it's not just
Summarize,
one story.
summarize.
Summarize that.
We should have a podcast where we just ask you questions about your.
We tried that once. Remember, it didn't work.
You were really hard hitting. You were like pulling
But-
teeth.
Okay, we'll sum it up really quickly. He was young, did a lot of drugs. Weaned himself off a lot of drugs.
Yep.
And slowly became skeptical.
We could actually talk about the bullshit we used to believe and have that as a thing.
We could.
I think we
spend some
did
time
that
on
We
already.
should do that. That would be. A, no,
I had a
this- yeah,
doula
that'd be
and I
good.
practiced hypnobirthing when I gave birth 5 years ago.
But you liked it, and you liked it.
There were parts of it I would change.
The giving birth
pain
part.
The pain, it didn't bug me, but I would have liked to have listened to better music instead of guided
Wham.
meditation.
You are, I don't know, either way too tough or way too easygoing because that's the pain stuff would have killed me and the music would not have mattered.
That's how I felt when I
was
had
like,
a
damn it, I made a fucking sweet playlist and I want to fucking listen to it. I don't want to listen to guided meditation. Fuck this.
Jesus. Angela, how can you say it didn't hurt that? I mean, it was like the most painful, horrible thing I've ever experienced.
No,
Some people it doesn't.
training for a half marathon and quitting smoking probably each in their own realms were more difficult for me than giving birth.
I don't want to sound judgmental, but I think you gave birth wrong.
I was induced, and being induced is often more intense because it's fake.
Now you guys are talking about giving birth, so let the man chime in.
You. I hate you so much.
Well, I know.
Since you ladies are talking about giving birth,
yeah. What do you want to say?
Let the man chime in.
Please,
I haven't opened
it
anytime soon.
Please do. No, we want to know.
I stubbed my toe.
He didn't have anything to actually say.
No. I guess my mother's water broke, and I was born less than 2 minutes later, and there was zero pain. And I was her first child, first and only.
See?
And she was built like Lisa.
Is different, right?
So let's face facts. That just set
You're
the
right,
tone
sound
for the
guy.
rest of your life. It was like, Gumby, get the fuck out.
My wife had a good experience with childbirth too.
Did she?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Fuck all of you. Fuck you, and fuck you. You can't see Dave, but I'm fucking pointing at you.
Even the wrong intern came into my room and was looking at things, and I was like, sure, have a look.
Check it out.
I also didn't care about that due to the excruciating pain.
My children's mom was in a lot of pain.
Your baby mama.
She deserved it, though.
She was in. Well, no.
Get out.
Oh.
Nobody deserves that.
Gumby.
You can write
Some
hate
people
mail
may
too.
deserve this. Some people may deserve it, but I didn't, and it fucking hurt like a lot.
In the lead up to the experience, she had said the entire time that she would not get an epidural. She would not get an epidural.
Yes.
And then it was very much like, let's do the epidural.
I said the same thing, and the nurses laughed at me. I could have fucking killed them.
Jen did the exact same thing. I don't need it. I'm good. Give me the fucking epidural now.
Well, you only have this kind of window to do it. Do it now.
Go for it. Yep.
Can we get it done yesterday? I would do it yesterday if that was an option. Let's just do that.
Just permanently have an epidural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
I don't give a fuck.
I'm just gonna push.
Okay,
this
let's say
button
that.
every time.
So I'll be honest. Okay, you get an epidural. They put a catheter in, right? You get a urinary catheter. And one potential risk from that is a urinary tract infection, which I got with a two-day-old baby. I had a urinary tract infection, had to get antibiotics. The epidural was still 120,000% worth it. Okay, like, it does not fucking matter. Okay, people.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I'm sorry, TMI, but for real.
No, fair.
If you are a woman listening to this and you are pregnant with your first child, fucking ignore Angela.
Don't feel.
Don't expect Angela's
bad.
experience.
Make a really good playlist.
Make your playlist, and you will not give a
Just
flying
hypnotize
fuck
yourself.
about that shit.
Listen to the
Make
debaters.
sure you're hypnotized.
Fuck me. Jesus Christ.
Listen to. She probably just listened to her own voice. And just
She was just so, her
hypnotized
voice is
herself,
very nice.
right?
That's true.
That's what it was.
Angela, if I ever have
Angela.
another baby, will you come to my delivery room and just talk to me? So
I'll
I
be your
have no
doula.
pain? Okay, thank you.
I'll be your doula.
I think this
I'll
is
read a
my
book.
new favorite part of the podcast is just bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have
Well, this is what
When
we're
I
good
invite
at.
Angela to be my doula, that's your favorite
maybe
part.
it's a good thing we didn't sign the
I'll just
pro
read to you.
truth pledge,
Never
'cause we're
mind. I'll just record.
bullshitting.
We're just bullshitting. We're just chatting.
I'll read
I
the
like
phone
it.
book if you want.
No, yeah, sure. Let's read the phone book.
No.
No, I think this is.
But Angela, I don't want to be. I don't want to be turned on. And
No, not yet. No, we still have. Yeah, we still have time.
Maybe
I'm
orgasmic
just-
childbirth. Yeah.
I'm just sitting here thinking of the very bad migraine that I had a while ago. That's the only thing I can think about. It's terrible.
How bad was it? Was it epidural bad?
if you could have gotten your head chopped off,
head
would you
epidural?
have a head epidural? a head epidural?
Head epidural.
I don't know.
Whatever that would be. Yeah.
Cranial.
That would be called death because you need your brain stem like, to send signals.
Just smoke
It's a
a
good
bowl.
thing.
I did get a tube stuck up my nose, not like a.
Is that right?
Yeah, a little while ago. Had my throat checked.
Oh.
But,
Nice.
Yeah.
Your throat's not up here.
But they stick it in there and the camera goes down.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But
It goes in through your
Gumby doesn't know
nasopharynx to your
how.
oropharynx down to your whatever is it called?
I have a very sensitive gag reflex.
Oh, not good for you.
Not good, no.
No.
But the guy sprayed something into my nose that kind of numbed it a little bit.
Oh.
Nice.
And then you didn't have that feeling anymore?
So,
Not as much now.
do they
Really?
know why you had migraines now?
That wasn't related to the migraine.
Oh, it's a separate
I
thing.
wouldn't think so.
No, that was
Your brain is not in your pharynx or your oropharynx.
Well, but migraines have been caused by infections that they had trouble finding in the nasal
Gross.
cavity.
Oh, sure, like a sinus infection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get those all the
I've
time.
had migraines. Like I had when I was young. I had very bad migraines. Now they're
right?
pretty much gone. I get them every once in a while. But
Well, Well, at least you only have a limited number of babies, really, normally. Unless you're Mormon, you really only have like 2
or like
3
Catholic, or don't believe.
But even then,
you won't have any babies.
I was just going to say, I hope I don't have any like myself.
Yeah, you shouldn't. That would be a
don't be
bad
bored in
medical. Bad medical.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to have any babies either.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm done.
I've seen Junior.
Close.
Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah. Although I'm not going to go off of that as like scientifically accurate necessarily.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, maybe it was. I don't.
I'm not really sure.
Danny
really.
DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger are twins.
No, that's a different movie.
Junior, that
twins,
was
isn't it?
creepy.
Oh, okay, that was
right around the same time.
Arnold Schwarzenegger
Same era.
getting pregnant.
Twins,
That was
sorry.
honestly one of the most disturbing movies I have ever
Oh,
seen.
for sure it is. Yeah.
When Arnold
for
said,
sure.
"My nipples are hard,"
You never
that
want to
was
hear
like,
a man say that.
I'm done.
But I refused to watch that movie. I remember when
To be honest,
when
that's
it
probably
came
not
out,
the only
I'm just
time
like,
he's
nope.
ever said that.
Oh, you have to give yourself a chance.
I
You need
hate
to try that shit
I
out.
hate Arnold Schwarzenegger as it is, and I was like, when I saw the trailer of him with a baby belly, I'm just like, this is just one
Why do
step
you hate
too
Arnold
far.
Schwarzenegger?
Have you not seen Kindergarten Cop?
No,
So fucking good.
It's not a baby.
No, it's not a tumor.
I have
Sorry.
basically
Terrible
just watched
Schwarzenegger.
Terminator and then like here and there little.
Yeah, two
other
Oscars.
You know what you
Laws.
really need to watch? You know what the best Schwarzenegger actually is?
True Lies.
Running Man.
Yeah, I was just
Running
thinking
Man.
that. That's-
Running Man. Like there's a point where I think he cuts one of the bad guys in half, like lengthwise with a chainsaw, and then his like leading lady goes like, "Oh my god, where'd he go?" And he's like, "He had to split" or something. It's just like it's nonstop
I think-
shit like that.
I
It's
think
so good.
Last
It's
Action
so
Hero is
good.
probably my favorite.
Last Action Hero is good too.
That's
Running Man is
that's the thing I hate
epic,
about
though.
the guy. Like that he has those stupid lines.
Oh,
Like,
Running
they
Man's
always-
full of them, but
like, they
it's
always
so
make it
funny.
crazy.
It's so
Stupid as
funny.
shit.
Created the
It's
trope
so funny.
of the bad action one-liners.
Yeah.
Have you seen the latest Rock movie with Kevin Hart?
I
No.
started to watch it today.
That was what was it called?
Central Intelligence.
I did watch it, but I think that I was a little shit.
He's got a few lines in there.
Yeah,
I will not lie. I watched that the other day and I enjoyed that immensely. It was completely unadulterated bullshit, but it didn't ask anything of me.
There was no. Yeah, no, that's fair. I think
It was
that's
like a one night stand. We both went our separate ways afterwards. I was like, all right, that was okay.
It was
I just
satisfying.
wanted to be able to
It's-
say
it
that you had a
scratched
one-night
your
stand
itch.
with The Rock in public, right? That's what it was.
And Kevin Hart.
And Kevin Hart. It was a threesome. Hey,
Is anyone else jealous right now? Oh my god.
be jealous.
Probably a lot of people, actually.
I'm trying to figure out the
I was-
logistics.
I was just gonna say it's a small dude and a big dick, referring to Kevin Hart and The Rock, and I'm not referring to the genitalia.
You think he's a dick?
Yeah,
His-
Kevin Hart is a dick.
Kevin Hart is a dick.
Is he?
The Rock is hilariously funny, I think.
I just hate him because he was ever part of the WWE. Like, and I
You
hate,
judgmental prick.
I am. I am. Yeah.
At least
Are you
you're
anti-wrestling?
I am anti WWE.
Wow.
Have you seen Glow on Netflix though?
I watched the first half of the first episode, but I remember watching Glow as a kid. Like,
Yeah, the
it
actual
was-
wrestling.
The story behind it is less interesting to me than it was
I don't
at
know.
the time.
I couldn't stop watching.
What the
that.
fuck is Glow?
It's
The gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Cool.
yes.
Yeah.
The girls like Allison Brie is the main character.
Yeah, she was on Community, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she was really good on Community. But
She worked her ass off to get in shape for that show. Like watching her Instagram workout videos and the number of pull-ups that she can do.
Sorry.
Mind you, she's tiny.
yeah.
But the fact that she can pull up her body weight that much.
It's not as difficult when you only weigh 80 pounds.
Yeah, I consider once
This
to
is
be
true.
impressive.
If I can do it once, that's like goals for me. It's going to take a while.
But
But I should clarify why I hate wrestling.
okay.
I used to watch it when I was, like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe till when I was around like 14 or so. Up until then, I thought it was real wrestling.
Oh, no.
And
what? Nobody told you?
And then all of a sudden I found out and I was so pissed.
So you're mad. So you're mad because of your ignorance.
I am mad because of my gullibility.
Because the lies.
Yeah, the gullibility.
The lies.
They fucking stomp as they punch, dude.
Yeah,
I don't really know what to tell you.
World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, yeah,
Well,
but
you see
there's
the
still
WWF,
something
right?
real
That's
to it. But then I went to a live wrestling show, and I was like, yeah, this is horse shit. From then on. Yeah.
Hey, but you know what?
Stampede Wrestling.
Dave's a big fan.
I'm not a big WWE fan, but I'm a big local wrestling fan.
Right.
It's like a culture thing, right? It's kind of like it's been. I mean, this is people might laugh at this, but it's like being compared to like ballet. Like it's like wrestling is performance art, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like sport, if that makes sense.
For sure. They're totally acting and they're
and
they're playing
stunts.
a role.
There's like stunts
there's a
and
physicality
choreography
to it that is.
Oh, you still have to be in ridiculously good shape.
You got to be in good shape to do stuff, and you got to be like ballsy. Like you got to jump off crazy things into tables, into like it's.
You're still taking risk, or you can still get hurt for sure.
Yeah, you can get hurt big time. Yeah.
Look at the hurts.
Wait. So there's like a local thing that's like WWE.
There
is.
you have to go.
Really?
It's so fun.
Oh, really? Can you bring a kid?
Wrestling.
Yeah, it's all ages. I don't know if you want to bring a kid, but
Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't want to bring my kid.
I want to bring your kid.
I don't know. I don't want to.
if you want him to like hear semen.
No, I don't know.
references
I don't
and,
want
like,
him doing that shit.
Semen
no.
references.
And like what else? I don't know.
Oh, I don't give a fuck about semen. I'm talking about. I don't want him breaking a fucking chair over my head. That's what I don't want. 'Cause that's what he would do.
Oh yeah. Well, if he's going to imitate, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the movie The Wrestler is a good like kind of talk about that. Like,
Is that the Mickey Rourke movie?
Yeah, like The Wrestler and Black Swan are actually meant to be companion pieces.
Oh,
same director. Initially they were supposed to be the same movie, but then he broke it into two films. And if you actually watch them side by side, you'll see what I mean. Like they're very similar.
Really?
Type of story arcs.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with Nacho Libre.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Nope.
Just thinking,
Fucking
so
love that
was
movie.
Natalie Portman supposed to be doing meth with Mickey Rourke? What?
Well, no, you know what? There was an initial script, I think, of those two films that had the two characters together in some way. So, but obviously that changed. So
Obviously, yeah.
and I think for the better.
Yeah, I think they both did very well on their own.
Great
I've
films.
never seen The Wrestler. I should check that out.
Oh, it's a great film. Wonderful film.
So we successfully avoided talking about criticizing the leaders of the atheist movement. So I'm happy with that.
It's so depressing.
It is.
There's leaders. We have leaders.
Yeah.
We do not have leaders. We're
Right.
atheists. That's the whole point. Like you just think.
Well, but I mean, we definitely have people, a cult of personality that,
Yeah. Well, fuck them. I don't know.
but we didn't have to talk about that because we talked about inane shit that we enjoy, which I much prefer. And hopefully the listeners prefer as well. So this is where we'll take for a break for music. For live listeners and patrons, you can enjoy the next few minutes, and then we'll be back. For regular feed subscribers, this is where we'll end the Skeptic Studio. Remember to check out the Shift to Reason Radio next week to hear listener feedback, new patrons, and iTunes reviews. Our music break this week is No Excuses by Alice in Chains, What I've Done by Linkin Park, because Chester Bennington is no longer with us, and Black by Seven Dust.
And next week, it'll be Kenny Loggins, Wham, and Fine Young Cannibals.
I'll bet you nobody even knows who the Fine Young Cannibals are.
That's actually the only
I
one
do.
of those that I knew.
totally do.
Let's hit that outro music. An outro music? Just the outro music. You can find show notes at thebrainstormpodcast.com and our website, brainstormblog.net, eventually. Thanks to our financial supporters, Will, Lisa, Rob, Aaron, Nathan, Daryl, Marissa, Stephanie, Positively Skeptical, Michael, Lachlan, and now Magnus. You can join us live every second week when we broadcast live on Spreaker. You can find us at Spreaker.com/user/brainstorm podcast. Our next guest is Louis Vaughn, author of Star Map, A Journey of Faith, Doubt, and Reason. Looks like we're out of time. Thanks to Gleb Tsipursky for joining us again. You can find out more about the Pro Truth Pledge at protruthpledge.org. There will be a link in the show notes. Thanks, Dave, for our intro music. Thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for the intro and some of our ads. And thanks to Jason Camo for our outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. And I think that's everything. Give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, share the show, and spread the word. Thanks for listening, and remember, the truth matters.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast with the possible exception of Corey, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interaction sometimes with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.